From the Oklahoma newsroom, this is an OU update. I'm Jenny Carlson. Baker Mayfield having a fantastic season for the Sooners has them in position to make a stretch run that could potentially get them into the college football playoff. And Ryan Aber joins us on the phone to talk about Mayfield's outstanding season. Ryan, it's a season that at this point maybe is gone a little bit under the radar, which is a little bit hard to believe, but he's on par with some other guys that have fared pretty well in Sooner uniforms. Jason White, Sam Bradford, guys that won the Heisman. I mean, he's having a fairly fantastic season in his first season as a starter.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and it has gone under the radar mainly because OU just hasn't played those marquee games. I mean, they had that game at Tennessee, which he I don't want to say struggled because he was the reason they were in that game for a large portion of it, and then a fantastic comeback there in the fourth quarter and finally in overtime. But really outside of that, there hasn't been a chance for many people nationally to get a look at this guy, and they're not playing teams that are, considered to be big challenges. But here in this last three-game stretch, beginning with Saturday in Waco against Baylor, with game day there in Waco for that game, it'll certainly up his national recognition, and he's got a chance in these last three games to make a push forward for the Heisman Trophy, especially with guys like Leonard Fournette and Trevon Boykin struggling last week.
Well, you mentioned the Heisman, Ryan, and I mentioned the Heisman as well. When you start talking about stats that are comparable with a Jason White and a Sam Bradford, obviously people automatically think about those two as Heisman winners. And, it does seem like a bit of a long shot, Ryan, but as you mentioned, with Boykin, Fournette having big game losses, and they did not play well. Boykin throwing 4 interceptions, Fournette having his worst day for sure against Alabama this season. It seems like the Heisman race is now looking for really good candidates. Baker Mayfield seems like he could be a guy to jump up in there. Are there some other guys that maybe the Heisman candidacy could be looking at here moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think the favorite right now is pretty clearly Alabama's Derrick Henry with the game he had both against LSU this weekend and the games he's had against the ranked teams that they played this year. That's sort of where you can make your Heisman hay, is having fantastic games against the best teams on your schedule, and he's done that week in and week out this year. But really beyond that, I mean, you've got to search down a little bit. Everybody thought I thought Fournette was going to be the runaway guy until he struggled Saturday night against Alabama, and Henry had that huge game. So certainly Fournette and Boykin are going to be in the conversation still, but Baker Mayfield has a chance to jump up there. Guys like Corey Coleman at Baylor and Josh Doxson at TCU, those are both fantastic wide receivers. They've got a chance to go up there. But the race to get to New York is going to be really interesting, even if right now Derrick Henry's the favorite.
Hey, lastly, Ryan, we talk about how Boykin struggled against OSU, how Fournette struggled against Alabama. They obviously have those now black mark games, if you will, against their Heisman candidacy. But Baker Mayfield has one of those as well, that Texas game, a game that really no Sooner played well in. But being that it was earlier in the season, if he plays well this last stretch for OU, does that sort of erase what happened against Texas?
I think it would go a long way toward it, and I think sort of the benefit of having that game against Texas is that Texas wasn't really highly regarded, so not a whole lot of people paid attention to that game outside of, well, OU got upset. But you look back just a few years ago at Johnny Manziel's Heisman Trophy season. I mean, he struggled against Florida to start the year, struggled against an unranked Ole Miss team midway through the year, which actually was on October 6th. So very comparable time in the season to what OU and Texas played on. But then late in the season against Alabama, he had a fantastic game, threw for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, rushed for 92 yards as well. And that sort of vaulted him into as the national frontrunner that year after guys like Matt Barkley, Braxton Miller, guys like that sort of fell off as the season went on. So you could see something similar happen, but like I said, it's going to take some slipping from Alabama's Derrick Henry to vault up and get the win.
Lots for the Sooners to play for this last month of the season. Here's one more thing for people to look out for. Does Baker Mayfield make a push towards that Heisman Trophy? Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.